Your team stinks. You haven't seen a good defender in a long time. I get it. But don't come chat to me, bro. Leave that for a Liverpool defender. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Social Media Derby. We've got a great episode this week, but before we get into it, for those of you watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like the video and share if you can. Drop your comments down below. We always love to interact with everyone's opinions on our opinions. And for those of you listening on the audio platforms, Spotify, Apple, etc., please follow, give us a 5-star review if you can. All of that's greatly appreciated. So how you doing, Jonts? You good?
Yeah, mate, not too bad. Feeling good to come into this with a win again. 11 goals now in 2 games, so pretty happy. How about you, mate?
Yeah, we're both on a bit of a run, innit? I don't know how many. I think I saw a fixture or like an analysis of your last 5 or 6 results, and you've won all of them. So I think it was a good couple at home as well, big thumping wins. So I think you're on like a 5-game winning streak. And I think we're on a 5-game winning streak as well. Very different results, but yeah, man, it's good to come into the pod without too much to complain about. Although we made it a little bit tighter than you guys did. But yeah, let's get into the games then. We'll start off with Luton 1, Man United 2. Yeah, it was sadly a very familiar performance and familiar result. Both for good and the bad. So yeah, unbelievable start. I think Højlund scored in like the first 40 seconds or something. Luton Town defender, I can't remember who it was, made just like a ridiculous mistake. Blind back pass. Højlund runs onto it, rounds the goalie and slaps it in with his left foot. And then I think again he scored with slightly fortuitous. I don't know. Some people are saying he did it on purpose. Some people are saying it was kind of accidental. Either way, it's not the greatest second goal, but he'll take it. You know what I mean? Millsy. So he chested us into a 2-0 lead, I think at 7 or 8 minutes in. And then for whatever reason, 10 minutes on, we just started to coast. Familiar Man United performance. Go 1 or 2 goals up and then start to just, go into our shells, not playing with the same kind of, bite and the same kind of incisive passing. And basically draw Luton onto us and they get 1 goal back and then it becomes like a really tough rest of the first half. And then, second half, I don't know, like we played actually much better in the second half, but we just couldn't finish our dinner. I don't know how many one-on-ones with the bloody goalie we had. I can remember at least 2 off the top of my head, Bruno and Garnacho, where we spurned chances. But yeah, 2-1 win. I did predict it, so I'm happy about that. We'll have to try and, like you said before, have to try and come up with some sort of table. I think at this point I'm probably slightly behind you, but I'm starting to catch. But yeah, 2-1 victory. What did you make of the game, Johns? Did you think we deserved the win, or do you think we were slightly lucky to come out of it with 3 points?
I think on quality, you obviously deserve the win because I think you're the better team. Luton obviously have been playing better recently, and obviously Ross Barkley's been looking like the old Ross Barkley, which is great. But generally speaking, I think in terms of quality and chances, you had the better of the bunch. Højlund's goal obviously was really good. I think, the back pass was absolutely shocking. And I'm just happy to see a striker properly put that away. I feel like had that dropped to someone like Garnacho, he would have flip-flopped on it for ages and then kind of kicked it into the bar or something like that. So Højlund to just take it round the keeper and smash it into back of the net was good enough. Second goal, I don't think it really matters really whether he did it on purpose or not because he chested it into the back of the net basically. I think it was a generally you had the better quality, the better chances of the match, but I don't know what you were doing trying to like just goad Luton onto you and thinking that at 2-0 that you're finished. I think you surely of all teams should know by this point that 2-0 isn't enough and that you will concede a goal at least sometime in the game. So I don't understand why you take your foot off the gas and, not try and bang in a third and then kind of shut up shop. And obviously, you had loads of chances second half that you did absolutely nothing with. Like, off the top of my head, I know there was one good kind of clearance or I guess block off of Bruno, but I think regardless of whether it's a good block or not, Bruno should score that. Another one of Bruno putting it past the post, Garnacho dilly dallying with it. Just I think a lot of chances for you to go, up 3, but I don't know what happened. I don't know what happens to you in general where you kind of just get really confident and then everyone takes a breath and then you all just decide not to play football anymore. So it's a weird one. I'm not sure what to make of it, but I think from your perspective, I mean, just getting a win, that's all you really need at this point, right? Maybe the style of football is not great. How easy on the eye it is not great, but from your perspective, just to keep winning, get yourself closer to getting that 4th spot is all you really need at this point. So, I don't know what to make of it. It's always a mixed bag. There's never just like a straight, oh, that was great, 100% positivity, let's move on. It's always like, yeah, we won, but we were shocking at this, that, and the other. So it's a weird one, but it's a pretty typical match of United's this season, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. But I guess there's 2 ways to look at it. I think there's one way which I think is it's a reasonable ask, but it's unreasonable in the circumstances to think United are going to start developing a style of play in the predicament that we're in. It's reasonable in that you should expect that of your team. You should expect that considering how much money we've spent. You should expect that coming off the back of our results last season. But it's kind of unreasonable because of the injuries, because of kind of all the drama and stuff going around the team this season and the position we currently find ourselves, which is still in 6th, still a little, we've cut the gap massively in the last couple of weeks, which is a great thing. It's a positive. It's given us like a slight chance at top 4. But considering our results, you would consider this season an underperformance for sure. So what Ten Hag's been saying is we're going to have, 15 cup finals or now 14, 13 cup finals left of the season in the Premier League. These are the games I'm expecting. I'm expecting us to have moments of positivity. And I think the first 10 minutes, it sounds ridiculous, right? Because the game's 90 minutes. But the first 10 minutes, I was really happy with how we played. I thought we pressed them really high up. We forced the mistakes. And we actually did really well. I thought our passing was pretty crisp and incisive. And there were quite a few standout performances if you just based it on those first 10 minutes. But as soon as we, like you said, as soon as we get 2-0 up, we just decide that we don't want to play anymore. And we kind of just sit back and we kind of revert back to some bad habits that we used to have under Mourinho, under some, previous managers where we've played slightly lower to mid-block when we get up in a game. But we don't have I don't think we have the quality both physically and mentally to be able to hold on to leads. We've just proven basically throughout the whole season the number of times we've given up 2-goal leads, whether it's 2-0, 3-1s or whatever, to either lose, draw, or I think the Wolves game was the only time where we somehow managed to still come out on top. Pretty much all the other results where they've followed that pattern, we've either drawn or lost. So I just don't get it. But I think at the same time, a lot of the players, this is who they are. They're not quite good enough to close games off, and they're not quite good enough to stiffen it up and hold on to a result if they need to. It's always made to be much more difficult than it needs to be. So, yeah, man, it was not the greatest performance, and even though the result was good, because every win that we get going forward, I'm going to be happy about, regardless of the performance. We are in the results period of the season. There's still some part of you that I think, like I said earlier, it's reasonable to demand some patterns of play and some performances. But, I can get why Ten Hag's kind of like, at the moment, he just needs to win. Because I think he's basically on trial now, isn't he? He needs to get top 4. If he can win a trophy, that would be good, because the new ownership, he's not their man. So if he doesn't do what they kind of require of him, you could get the boot at the end of the season. So it's just survival mode again, as we say every week. But let's get into a few player performances, because I'll start with a positive. I thought Hoyland was good still, even in the rest of the 80 minutes when he really didn't get much of the ball. He was still lively, making runs. I still don't think we find him enough, and we kind of waste a lot of the runs that he makes. But I was really positive about him. I think he's really proven what a bit of confidence is doing for him. All those things that kind of the good positions he was getting in before, the good chances he was getting in before that he would either miss, the goal he would save, he's starting to convert now. So let's hope that Hoyland train keeps going. Mainu, I think, was really good again. He looked like the senior midfielder. You know, while Casemiro was doing rash things and almost getting sent off, Mainu was getting the ball in tight spaces, wriggling out of presses, making really crisp, incisive forward passes. Yeah, he just looks like a player ahead of his age. Just he seems so composed. It was again really good to see, and I think Jonny Evans deserves a bit of a call out too, because when we brought him on in the second half, he really helped us get that result. I think if we didn't have Evans come into that back line, I don't know if we would have been able to hold out and get the victory in the end. So I think those three just definitely deserve a shout out. Would you agree with that, Johns, or do you think anyone else deserves any praise? Can't imagine.
No, I
there's too
agree. I
many.
think obviously Hoyland, you can't not mention him if he gets two goals. Mainu again, I think he was good, but again, I think he's competing with people that are absolutely shocking. So he looks great. And you guys are still going heavy on him being like the new Seedorf and all this other stuff. So I think still calm it down a little bit. But yeah, he's
New
obviously still good. Yeah, the new Thiago. And then yeah, I think Evans has been like, for me at least, he's everyone else has been making jokes about him, but I feel like he's been one of your best defenders this year. And I think he comes in, and I think everyone knows what he's not good at, right? Anything to do with speed. But at the same time, he's got so much experience, and he positionally knows where to be, you know, in terms of experience and just knowing how to put people off, knowing how to get in people's way, knowing how to just not even let the kind of opportunities come in. He's really good at. So I think from my point of view, I think Jonny Evans has been a revelation almost, for like considering how old he is and how when you signed him, you weren't really looking for him to be playing as much as he is. So yeah, can't sing his praises enough. I think Jonny Evans is one of those players that has been madly underrated kind of since his first run at United, really. So yeah, other than that, I think the notable player performances are all negative. So Bruno, I'm looking at you, mate. Yeah, those would be probably the only ones I'd talk about in a positive light.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I think we have to spend a bit of time on this, especially after last week's episode and Nash's call out of Bruno Fernandes. But yeah, not a great performance, man. And just like I've seen some really interesting like content out there within the United fan content creator community talking about Bruno, and they're always like two polar extremes, polar opposites. You've got people who think like Nash, he's an absolute bum and he's got low IQ and he's a bit of a passion merchant slash passionista, and just basically goes missing every single time we need him. And then you've got people who just are like staunch Bruno fans and point towards all the chances he creates and or his impact on the team since he joined the club and all this kind of stuff, which I get as well. I get both sides, but this performance, he was so wasteful, and the amount of times he broke our attack down because he just tried a Hollywood ball or didn't see and keep things simple. And yeah, I mean, like you said, I 100% agree that he should bury that chance when he goes one-on-one with, I think, Lokonga, or with the goalie stranded out of nowhere in an open goal. Like that's a good clearance. I'll give it to Lokonga. It's a good block. You can't take any credit away from him because he's on the stretch, just putting anything on the line to be able to block it. It's kind of like that Sula one, right? Do you remember with Mbappe went like clean on goal as well? I think his was even closer to the goal, so maybe it was a slightly easier chance. But it's very similar in that Sula's just throwing anything at it, and it's totally down to Mbappe to miss that chance because he's got the whole goal to aim for. You could even dummy him and probably send him to the shops, kind of like Gabby Jesus did to Dallo earlier in the season, and you've got an open goal. And I think Bruno could have done the same. He could have lifted it. There's no way Lokonga's leg's gonna reach that. He could have dummied him. He could have just struck it with a bit more power and precision, and it probably would have gone through Lokonga. So, like you said, third goal, wrap it up, 3-1. I don't think I could see Luton getting two more goals back, even if we've kind of allowed other teams in from that scoreline. But also, I think the moment I was talking to you about it off camera just now, the moment in the final couple of minutes of added time where we've got a corner, someone plays it short to him. I forgot who takes the corner, and he plays it short to someone. They give it back to him, give and go. He decides to take on a player and then take a ridiculous shot from the most narrow angle ever, straight into Kaminsky's hands for him to like throw it out for a counter attack. They get two corners from it. Ross Barkley headers one, narrowly scraping the bar and out, and we could have given up the equaliser. And I'm sorry, an experienced player and the captain of the club can't be doing dumb shit like that. Like, I get it if it was Garnacho. I get it if it was a youngster. I get it even if it was Rashford, as much as Rashford should get hammered for stuff like that. Like, players who have proven that they're quite immature, or just because of age, you guess that they're quite immature, you kind of forgive them for those kind of mistakes. But Bruno has no excuse. And I don't know what comes over him, man, because when you hear him talk, he seems quite logical, right? After games, like, I don't know if you've heard him talk. He doesn't come off as he does on the pitch. He comes off quite logical, quite clear-minded, and stuff like that, and quite like self-critical when he makes mistakes or the team doesn't play well. But yet, when we get into these moments in games, he still does stupid stuff. And like, the one thing I'll refute adamantly whenever you get the Bruno stands saying, singing his praises, and they talk about his IQ because of some of the creation stats that he has. There's a difference between football IQ and being a creative player. Like, he's clearly a very creative player, so some things will come off. But I don't give credit to his IQ. I might give credit to the fact he can see certain things, or he's a bit of a like savant player that will try certain things, just to do it. But I don't think you can label him as a high IQ footballer. High IQ footballers are ones that take risks with the highest probability of success and can see things and pull things off to a high probability and a high accuracy level. And he's not one of those players. And he exhibits examples of just absolute brain farts and like meltdowns when he just does really stupid stuff. So yeah, man, Bruno needs to have a look at himself, I think, when it comes to that side of his game. I'm less annoyed about the petulance and all that kind of stuff, because you kind of love a player on your team doing that kind of stuff because it riles everyone else up. But when it comes to making dumb mistakes like that, they're going to cost us, and they have cost us in previous games. I'm thinking of that Galatasaray game where he gave away, I think, the 2 free kicks that Ziyech ended up scoring from both times for just like really low IQ decision making. So yeah, man, Bruno, I was really disappointed. Is not the word, because he's done this before. It's just really infuriating to see your club captain and talisman making dumb decisions like that. And I would even extend this, before you jump in, John, to Casemiro, because as much as I don't think he should have got a red card for the second or 2 yellows, right? I think it would have been very harsh, and I would have cried about Casemiro attacks if it happened. He's still a bit stupid for doing those kind of challenges when he knows he's on a yellow card. First of all, he always gets yellow cards within like the first 20 minutes. So he sets himself up for like 70 minutes of pain, and all the fans are stressing because they're thinking he's going to do something dumb and get sent off. And because he should surely know by now, he's got eyes on him. He's kind of got now a bit of a reputation for doing stupid stuff and making rash challenges. And there is a bit of a Casemiro attack. So, yeah, I'm disappointed with his performance as well, because I've been shouting about it on the pod for the last couple of weeks about how we need to have Casemiro, Bruno, and Kobe, sorry. And like I said earlier, elder statesmen of that trio are either putting up stinkers or getting pulled off at half time for almost getting sent off. So yeah, man, it's disappointing that our experienced players are the ones who are kind of letting us down or almost letting us down in these games when the stakes are so high. We need them to show up. We need Casemiro, Bruno, Varane. Johnny Evans is the one who has been showing up. We need those guys to show up for us, and they're not so far. So yeah, man, I think it's only a matter of time before these things come back to bite us, and against slightly better opponents, it could have. But yeah, I don't know what you think, Johns.
No, I agree with you for the most part. I think Bruno, as you say, he's polarizing in that people either absolutely love him or they absolutely hate him, and there's not really a middle ground for any of that. And I think, to be honest with you, when I look at him, he's just a vibes player. I think, we always talk about people like Darwin Núñez and all these other players, right, that just don't seem to have any patterns to their game. They just do whatever feels right at the moment, and for the most part, that looks stupid from people watching the game. And to be honest with you, I think, to me, Bruno is just like a playground footballer, like in a really good quality, right? He's just, on the playground at lunchtime, it wasn't a serious match. You weren't trying like all of the disciplined things that you probably would expect from like a proper, full 11-a-side match. You're just trying things. You're just like, I'm going to outside of the foot curl that one over there to him. I'm going to spray that one over there. I'm going to do whatever I want basically all the time. And I think that's what it screams from Bruno, right? He's like obviously technically a level above most of the people that he plays with. And as a result, he just looks like a year 11 to me. He looks like he gets the ball and he's just like, you know what would be the Hollywood thing to do right now? And he just tries it every single time. Like everything about him screams that to me as it's like lunchtime high school football. And I think that the thing that gets him out of it most of the time is that he is technically a class above a lot of the people that he plays with. So a lot of that stuff does come off. And when it does, he looks like a star. But at the same time, when you start putting him, around players that are a bit more disciplined, around other teams that are a bit more disciplined, and he starts trying all the stupid things that he usually tries, he tends to either look like a genius or look like an asshole. And there's not really very much in between for the type of football that he plays, right? And I think it's a very fine line between that and like a player like De Bruyne, who is, for the most part, trying outrageous things as well, but just with a better IQ about like if it doesn't work out, it's not going to mean that the other team goes down the other end of the pitch and smashes one into the top corner. You know what I mean? He's trying them at times where he can see from a system perspective, I'm not going to get caught out here. And that's where I think the football IQ thing comes into it, is like not only doing things that are high percentage or doing things that are improbable and making them look high percentage, but at the same time doing them at the right moments where it's not going to completely screw your team if it doesn't come off. And I think maybe that's just the thing that Bruno, I don't know if he's young enough still to try and learn it, but doing it at the right time and doing it at a time where you can afford to lose the ball, or doing it at a time where you can afford to smash one into the top corner. I don't know if he really has figured that part out yet. And maybe it's just because the rest of the system in the team doesn't perform that well, that like every single time he tries it, there's always some sort of jeopardy that the other team will go down the other end and smash it in, right? Like when you have Rodri or whoever next to you, it's easy to just start trying all kinds of crazy things knowing that he's going to be behind you and Kyle Walker's on the other side, right? So I can't fault Bruno that much because I think the system of Man United is just not as good. But he's got to figure out, like, if that's not going to work, how can he play in a more disciplined way that is more of a 7 out of 10 consistently for Man United, instead of like, here's a 9, here's a 3, here's a 10, here's a 1. Like he's got to find a middle ground while Man United are in this transition period.
I don't think you will, John. So I think that's
no. I don't think
the
he
point
will
you're
either.
making
That's
is-
why I think you'll have to sack him off at some point, because I don't think he'll ever figure it out while you guys are not that good.
Yeah, no, but now this probably we'll probably clip this up ourselves when we make the clips. But what I'm about to say, right? When we talk about the top cams, right, or super creative midfielders, attacking midfielders in the Premier League. We always talk about, obviously, KDB is kind of goated at this point. You've got then the second, pretender batch or contenders, depending on how you view it, the Odegaards, the Madisons, the Brunos, and to be honest, I think there are slight differentials. KDB is clearly the most complete. That's why he is goated, right? Because he's got the creativity, he's got the ability, he's got the physicality, and then the thing that is the icing on the cake, right, which separates him, is he has the highest football IQ. So he knows when to utilize those strengths at the right moments, and he at the highest kind of conversion rate. So he gets it right more times than others. And then when you look at that other batch, the Madisons, the Brunos, the Odegaards, they've all got elements of those things. So they're all really creative. I would say they're all not as physical as De Bruyne.
Yeah,
I think
they're less
got more
complete.
of an engine. Yeah, but I think the key differentiator, because I think maybe the physicality is one of them that puts De Bruyne above, right? He's got lungs. He's got an engine. He keeps going up and down, up and down. He's a powerful runner, which I don't think those other three are. But I honestly believe that the key separator is that he's got the highest football IQ out of the four of them. So he converts, and he's able to harness his creativity, the technicality, the physicality, and the vision or whatever, his ability, to the highest success rate. Like Odegaard, probably, I think, is the closest to reaching De Bruyne levels in a one-off individual season. I think Madison has had moments or purple patches where he's got really close, but not as long as a season as Odegaard did last season. And then I think Bruno, stats-wise, has put up the highest stats that can get closest to KDB's numbers. But those three just aren't as complete, like you said. And the thing they all don't have to the same level is De Bruyne's football IQ. I think this football IQ stuff gets thrown about too easily. True football IQ is being able is not being able to spot a pass. It's being able to see the pass and then just determining whether or not it's possible or not. And then once you've done that, if you decided to go for it, being able to execute it. And that's what KDB has to a higher level than I think those other three. And that's not slanting them, because those are all, I would say, those are the four best cams in the Premier League, or attacking most creative midfielders going forward. But those
the only
other
thing I'd
three
say about that, to add
reach
to that though, is football IQ is also knowing what you can do. And that's the part where KDB knows what he can do, but he can also do more than the other three that you talk about. And that's the difficult thing, is that, like, with Bruno, Odegaard, and Madison, I think some of them know what they can do and some of them don't. I'd say Odegaard and Bruno sometimes get a little confused about how good they are and start trying things that they really shouldn't be trying at the wrong moments. I think Madison and KDB are probably closer to knowing exactly what they bring to the table and what they don't. But the problem with that is KDB just brings more to the table. So there's more opportunities where he's like, you know what, I can do exactly what is required right now, and I'm going to do it. And so, that's the only other thing I'd add to that, is that football IQ is not just about knowing the situation around you and what could come off and what couldn't come off, but it's also about knowing yourself pretty well about what you can do, what you can't do. And I think KDB knows really well, like, I'm capable of playing this pass, and I'm also capable of chasing the guy down if I miss it. And I think that's the part that the other three don't necessarily have, is they either can't do as much as KDB can do, or they get it twisted that they can do as much as he can do, and they still try things that they shouldn't be trying. So I think it really comes down to the two of those things. Like, Madison, I feel like he knows he's not going to defend and he's not going to be the most physical player, and he doesn't really try to play like that as a result. With Odegaard, I think he sometimes thinks that he's I don't even know who he thinks he is sometimes, but he tries things at crazy moments where I'm just looking at him the same way you guys look at Bruno and thinking, what the hell are you doing, mate? Right? Like, he runs back into really congested areas. I know that he's got very quick feet and good ball control, but sometimes he does it to an extent where I'm just like, there's 15 people within a 2 square meter area, and you want to run back in there when Saka's out on the other end, and you could just whip it out to him. So I think that's the thing with Bruno, is that sometimes he like that corner that you're talking about, right? He thinks that that's in his wheelhouse, that he can play it 1-2 with this geezer and then slap it top corner. And maybe it is in his wheelhouse on a playground or against Sunday League footballers, but against top of Premier League opposition, you haven't got the facilities to do that on a regular basis, right? And if you can do that 1 out of 100 times, you shouldn't be doing it in a game, right? You should be doing things that are slightly higher probability of actually being successful in a game. And I don't think that his judgment of himself is great, to be perfectly honest with you. I think you can see that in some of his tackling, some of the other things that he behaves. He's obviously in another world on the pitch sometimes and thinks that like something completely different is happening to him. So that would be the main complaint about him, is that you don't see KDB do that, right? Like, he loses his rag every now and then, but for the most part, he's level-headed, kind of looks like he's in control. And, when you see him speak after the game, you know what I mean? Exactly. Yeah. Let me talk.
Let me talk. Let me talk. Let me talk right now. No, I agree with you, man. I think it's judging your ability and it's judging the situation. So I think with Bruno, I actually don't know about the ability thing. I actually think ability-wise, all four of them are really close. But I really think it's understanding the moment, it's understanding the situation, and then it's that slight difference in ability in terms of execution. I think De Bruyne can pull things off more than those other guys can. And for Bruno, it's just a lot of the time, like you said, you're probably right, man. I think he just like sees not red mist, but he's transported into a different universe when he's playing football. And so therefore, like, general logic, general common sense can sometimes, can just go over his head. And I think that corner was a great example. It was never like, maybe it's on if you're 4-0 up or if you're 3-1 up, even, at that time, and you don't have any jeopardy. But when you're 2-1, come on, man. Like, you don't do that kind of stuff, like you said. You don't do 1 in 100 probability stuff when you're 2-1 up with only a couple minutes left to go. You do the common sense stuff, and you'd expect a player of that experience, that quality, and a captain to do that. But yeah, it's interesting. Let's quickly wrap up on the United section, just touching on a few points. Top 4 now, 3 points off Spurs, 5 points off Villa. We might not even need top 4 because apparently coefficient wise, England's looking like we're going to get 5 places in the Champions League. So we kind of just need to catch one of them, most likely. We've played Villa twice though already, beaten them both, which is, the best we can do. And then we've played Spurs already twice, lost 1 and drawn 1. So that's not fantastic. So we're going to have to rely on those guys dropping points in other places. Spurs lost to Wolves at home. Big up Gary O'Neill. Love you, mate. Great guy. What a fella. But Villa somehow managed to win, which I'm so annoyed. Did you see that Fulham Villa game? Because they had like a 1-on-1 with the last second, and the stupid Pratt just struck it straight at Emi Martinez and missed it. But he should have buried it, and it would have been a Villa draw, and we would have been 3 points behind both of them, which would have been an amazing result, to be honest. But yeah, do you think we've got any more chance now, or are you still at the same point you were, where you think it's unlikely but slightly possible? What do you think about our top 4 hopes?
No, I think you've definitely still got a chance. I would say that in form, you're better than Villa and Tottenham right now, right? Both of them have looked really shaky.
They've been ropey. Yeah, they've been ropey recently.
And I mean, you've got to really look at fixtures. That's the main thing that I've been looking at, because, as much as the table right now looks great and everything, if you look at some of these teams' fixtures, man, some teams have got a hard one, and some teams have got like a decently, not easy run, but they've played most of their hard games already. So I think from your perspective, I haven't seen Villa and Tottenham's kind of run from here on out, but I think yours is doable. I think you've got obviously a couple of hard games in City and Liverpool, but I think like the rest of the games, I think at your current form, you'll win, right? Like you got Fulham, Nottingham Forest, Everton, Sheffield United, Brentford, Chelsea. I never know what you're going to get with Chelsea, but yeah, you got Bournemouth. You do have Newcastle again, and then you've got us near the end of the season. But I think when we start getting into like late April, early May, I think it's probably going to be mostly decided by that point. So I think you've got a shot. I think Tottenham are looking real stinky right now. It's the Big Ange has worn, the mate has worn off finally.
He's not a miracle worker.
He's not a miracle worker, exactly, right?
He's just a
football manager, exactly. And then with Villa, I think bloody Unai's out here cutting his hair, looking 40 years older than he actually is. So you never know what's going to happen with that. And Villa still in Conference League as well. So
they are, yeah.
So they've still got some games to play. I think Tottenham obviously aren't in anything, but you could get fifth. I think you'll definitely get fifth. It's just a question of whether you get fourth or fifth, in my mind, at least.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're not a shoe-in, but I think the way we're trending, I think leapfrogging one of those two teams is definitely on.
Yeah.
Two will be hard, especially because we're not facing any of them to like claw back points and do any more 6-point swings. But yeah, we've got City away, which I'm basically resigned to losing. Although, Chelsea showed us if we do Ole Gunnar Solskjaer football, you could get a draw, because that's basically what they did. So big up Poch for that, by the way, because he's been getting absolutely hammered. And Big Poch managed to do that, so big up him. But yeah, we've got City away, we've got Liverpool at home.
And then you got
I still think we've got a chance at home against the big teams. Like, I think we got a chance at home against you guys. I think we got a chance at home against Liverpool. I don't think we've got a chance at City. And then it's going to come down to those slightly trickier games around. Like, we got Bournemouth away, who battered us 3-0 at home, by the way, and are a really handy team. We got Newcastle at home, who just, always seem to shithouse their way into getting some sort of result against us. So we got to worry about them. And then also, we're about to nab their DOF, so they're going to want to get revenge on us again. And then who we got? We got Chelsea away at the Bridge, which even when we batter them, we still never win there. So it's interesting. But like you said, I think all of us, Spurs, Villa, and us, all have tough fixtures. I think Villa still have to go to the Etihad. They've still got to go to the Emirates. I think they've got to play each other one more time. But there's loads of games left, so I think it's too early to say it's on or off.
Kind of depends also on how well you do in the FA Cup, mate. Because if you have to go into multiple tournaments and you go deep into like FA Cup as well, that's extra games on your plate.
Just one though
as well.
I
know it's not as bad as last year, but I mean, again, I think that plays into all of it, because Tottenham are literally in nothing, right? They're literally only in this, right?
Yeah, but they're struggling.
They're not in any of the
just this.
No, I know they're struggling with just this, but I mean, like, I think the DP
I'm worried about Villa
season. I know you are, but you've got to worry a little bit about both, mate, because Tottenham stink right now. But if you guys start picking up injuries again, and you're playing in loads of games, then that's another thing that could almost end your season right there. But I think you probably need to get something out of one of the big teams that you play. So either City, Liverpool, or Arsenal. I think you've got to get. You can't lose all three of those and come fourth. You've got to get at least something from one of those matches, I think, if you want to come fourth.
No, I reckon we've got to get 6 points out of 9 out of them for us to really have fourth, which is not impossible, but it's hard. It's hard. Like, I think it will be hard, but mate, we've given ourselves such a tough mountain to climb. We're going to need to get 2 wins out of that crop, and then still be almost flawless in the rest of our games. So yeah, I see what you're saying. FA Cup's not that bad though, I think, because you shouldn't really have any 2-legged ties. They're one-off games, so it shouldn't be that taxing on our schedule. But yeah, it's obviously a few more games than Spurs are going to have. So let's see how it shakes up. Let's finish it quickly on the Dan Ashworth stuff. I made a joke about it just now. Looks like we're going to get him from Newcastle. Man's been stuck on gardening leave already. Talk of £20 million compensation to get him out of his death row contract that Newcastle have got him in. Because apparently, if we don't pay the 20 million, they can stick him on gardening leave for 20 more months, and he won't become our DOF or sporting director or whatever until 2026, I believe. it is. That will be 20 months, or the end of 2025 or something.
Close
So
enough,
crazy times. My little 2 pence on it is super happy with him coming in. He's clearly someone that everyone's been chattering about as one of the best in class. He's gone a bit of a like kind of grassroots traditional route to get here. He hasn't just jumped from one big club to another. He's worked his way up through West Brom. I think he went into England and played a big role in the youth teams in England. Then went to Brighton, played a big role in them kind of solidifying their spot in the Premier League, and then unearthing all the gems. And now he's been at Newcastle for the last, I don't know, was it like 14, 15 months or something like that. And now it looks like he's going to join United. So I'm really happy with that. He seems like a really competent guy based on his track record. And when you look at his recruitment record, it's not 100% perfect, but I don't think anyone is, manager or DOF. We've all had some stinkers, but the majority of them have been really, really good players. The big thing for me will just be, can he handle it at United? Because no disrespect to Brighton, no disrespect to West Brom, complete disrespect to Newcastle. They're totally different size of clubs, right? They're absolute minnows compared to what he's going to be, the pressure and scrutiny he's going to be under at United. And it might sound arrogant, but it's just true, right? Like the amount of press we get, both negative, positive, just constantly in the news cycle, he's going to be under a huge amount of pressure. So I think the big question mark for me is just, will he be able to handle it? Making signings for Man United is very different than making signings for Brighton, Newcastle, with all due respect. You can have some stinkers, buy some players who are, on the upward curve, but they're not going to be expected to achieve straight away. And at United, he will be. So it's going to be a hard job as well, because he's going to have to get rid of a bunch of players. I think that's probably a bigger task for him, to try and get some money back for some of these players we've got on big contracts. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. What do you make of it, John? Do you reckon football's gone mad that we're all talking about DOFs now with 20 million transfer fees, or what do you reckon?
I think yeah, obviously football has gone mad, but I don't think it's exclusively because of you guys, right? Like I think everybody has the same importance that they place on DOFs and chief executive officers of football operations and all this other stuff, right? It's just the way that things go with big teams now, especially in the Premier League. So I don't think that's all that mad, but I think Dan Ashworth's success is very much dependent on Omar Barada and the people around him, because he's coming into a team, just like you said, where everyone knows you got money, even if you don't. Sometimes they know that you've got money and that you're willing to spend, and they're going to try and rip you off. And that makes the director of football's job a lot harder, because a lot of it is wheeling, dealing and finding gems here and there and everywhere else. When you're Brighton, it's easy to go into like the bloody J League and say, hey, I want this guy. Can you give him to me for a couple of million? And they're like, yeah, sure. You're only Brighton, never heard of you before. Fine. But when it's Man United coming in, they're like, all right, the price has gone up. Today's price is not the same as yesterday's price. So from that point of view, he's going to have somewhat of a mammoth job on his hands. And that's where people like Omar Barada and other people that are coming in are going to have to be really good to say, you know what, I'm putting my foot down. I'm not paying more than this. I'm not paying more than that. We're not putting him on a 5-year, 500 grand a week contract, right? So I think he's going to rely heavily on the team around him to really be successful. I don't think you can think of him as just being successful in isolation. So I think it's really going to come down to the overall system. And if you can shore up some of the other positions that you're looking for, if you can shore up some of the other areas of football that you're kind of looking to improve from a staff perspective, then I think that he's in the best position to succeed. It's still a risky one, though, because you are Man United and people are going to be talking about you left, right and centre. There's going to be rumours all over the gaff. You're not going to be able to get people in quietly under the radar. It's going to be front page news every day of the week. Even players that he's not even looking at, he's going to see them all over the front page and think, who the hell put that rumour out there? And he's going to have to deal with that, because Newcastle ain't, no one's checking for Newcastle like that when they go and buy Anthony Gordon. No one gives a crap, right? No one's really checking for Brighton too heavy up until more recently. So he's gonna have to get to grips with that, because that must be annoying as hell. Imagine it's like playing Football Manager, and before you even put in a bid for somebody, people reporters are coming and asking you, how much do you want to pay for this guy?
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's a hard one, and he's going to have to figure out how to deal with that. And mate, if you pay that 20 million compensation, you guys are nuts, right? Like, I don't know how they keep getting people on these death row contracts out here, and like how managers keep getting paid off for these crazy amounts of money. But you guys are starting to rival like proper transfer fees just to get directors of football and managers and whatever else. It's mental.
The argument though is we'll wrap it up quickly because we've spoken so much about United for the beginning of this pod, but it kind of makes sense though. For me, I'm not that PO'd about the 20 million compensation stuff because the amount we're spending on players who a lot of people could argue, are not necessarily the most important people at a club for it to be, really, really successful. Players come and go. A lot of the time it's to do with the structure, the managers in previous time, for example. So I'm not that outraged by it. I think people are just like kind of a little bit taken aback because we don't see those sums are bandied around too much for directors of football. I
think it just nowadays it gets more reported on. I think we were always paying money for these kinds of things. It just wasn't reported on as much, right? People weren't checking the books like they are now on every single thing because of bloody Man City's 115 charges, man.
Yeah, well, maybe City were because they were paying shell companies all over the place for Mancini and all that.
Yeah, they just had an eraser like a rubber out and were just erasing lines in some like black book locked up in a safe somewhere.
Yeah, in a shell company with no office and just like no fixed abode and all that kind of stuff. But
exactly.
No, allegedly,
Ocean's 11, mate. Allegedly,
allegedly. But I think the highest fee I ever saw banded around the media was stuff about Potter getting bought out of Brighton for like 10-15 million or something like that. So I actually do think this is kind of a newer thing in football where these big sums are being paid for managers, for other backroom staff. But for me, I just think it's just football catching up to football. We're paying 100 million for rubbish players. You're paying 70 million for potential now these days. It makes sense and it's logical that people are going to start paying 15, 20, 25, 30 million pounds for managers, directors of footballs or whatever. That's just how it's going. It's just monopoly money for them. So let's see though. It is a risk. It is a step up. I think everything you said makes complete sense. Let's see how he can cope with the pressure at a team like United. And yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed for my sake and all the United fans, he's able to help us along with Omar Barada kind of right the ship and get us back to winning ways. Let's move on to Arsenal then, Jonts. So it was Burnley 0, Arsenal 5. You rightly mentioned earlier, you've slapped in 11 goals over the last 2 away games. Absolutely bonkers. This game was a real goal fest. And again, I think your attackers have been on fire, man. I know there were a couple of set-piece goals in the West Ham game. This one, correct me if I'm wrong, but all of your attacking players, or all the goals came from attacking players. So you had a goal from Odegaard, 2 from Saka, a goal from Trossard and from Havertz. So yeah, what did you make of the game overall, and how happy are you to see all of your attackers firing?
I think it was a great game. It was again, it's another example of a team coming and trying to play, and then we win, and we win convincingly. I don't know what's happened. Is like everyone just stopped watching Arsenal or something, and stopped doing low block football against us. But you come out and play against us, and mate, you're getting battered. I'm sorry to say, unless you're bloody Liverpool or Man City, if you come and try and play against us, we're gonna batter you. So from that point of view, it's just I'm loving it, and it's. I'm reminiscing now off of last season, right? We were doing this more frequently last season, and these last couple of run of games, I guess even as you mentioned it, the last 5 games, ever since we beat Liverpool, we've been on a good run, and we've been scoring a lot of goals. So it's mental. Like I think I can't remember the exact stat, but I think we've scored like 21 goals in 5 games, which is mental. Like on an average goal per game, we're scoring like 4 goals a game. So from my point of view, I love it. And not only that, but we're starting to see some of our star boys and our great players build their stats up again. So everyone will get off their back and stop saying they're having a terrible season. So you got to love
Man's
that, right?
rattled.
Saka, 12 goals, 7 assists. Suck on that. Everyone that was saying that he wasn't as good as last season. Silly.
Rattled.
Yeah, everyone's chatting their breeze, chatting on about Hoyland getting goals in the last 5 games or whatever. Settle yourselves down, Millsy. There's a real star boy in town around here, son. But yeah, no, just overall really good play. I think. I mean, the Trossard looks good as well. The Havertz goal was nuts as well. Didn't he do like a little shimmy past someone?
Oh,
And then
yeah, he nutsed him or sold a player, and he's a disgusting goal. Yeah,
beautiful. So,
amazing goal.
I mean, if you're getting bloody Havertz playing like prime R9, then do keep doing what you got to do, man, because that seems impossible. So yeah, just overall really good, and I'm really happy with the performance. Obviously, I'm trying not to get too far ahead of myself. It is Burnley away. They're not exactly the hardest team to play in the league, but you can't complain with a 5-0.
5-0 and 6-0. I think it's just
Oh,
a
yeah.
combination of. I think it's just a combination that makes it just so. It's got to be so positive for Arsenal fans because 3-1 Liverpool. I think that was kind of like a long overdue result that matched the performance because I feel like Arsenal have had these kind of performances in other games that just not been clinical, been wasteful up front. And we've talked about it on the pod so many times. I'm going to keep saying it. I know a wasteful team when I see one. And Arsenal had been really, really wasteful in a lot of good games where they played really well and just not taking their chances and it costing them big. But I think you had 2 wins before the Liverpool game, but they were slightly shaky. That Liverpool win has turned things around and you guys really look like you have momentum. And it just looks like you guys are just you've got confidence, you've got your swag back, you've got your kind of je ne sais quoi back, man, and like all your baller players from last season, like you said rightly, as much as I've been trying to rattle you all season saying they've not been doing well, which performance wise I think I was justified. I think Saka aside, his stats have
Shut
been
up.
Saka's stats have been good, even if I think his performances haven't been as good. But in the last 2 games, he's been balling out like that. He penalty was slightly lucky. I don't know what James Trafford. Oh, didn't you?
Yeah,
didn't
that was
you,
not a good penalty. Yeah.
Didn't you rate him so high? Who is it? I can't remember if it was you or me, but I feel like you rated him quite highly, or I rated him quite
No,
highly.
no,
I don't think it was
neither of us
me.
rated him highly at all. I think I got his name
Yeah,
wrong. I called him Trafford or something for a bunch of times.
his name
But
is
like,
Trafford.
no, I think I called him Stafford. Sorry, that was it. I was getting him mixed up with somebody else, and we were both like crazy, like confused about how much they spent and how Man City got
Yeah,
that much money
18
for him.
million.
Yeah.
18 million on an under 18s goalie. And then, I mean, the under 21 Euros made him look, like a real prospect, and maybe I was going to have to eat humble pie on that. But throughout this whole season, he's just been getting bullied, man. The amount of times he's like done a really
On
good
corners,
save and
yeah,
then
he's been getting
dropped the
absolutely hammered on
clanger.
corners.
Yeah.
People like elbowing him, knocking him out the way. Yeah, he's been getting bullied like a school
He's
kid out
just,
here.
yeah, he looks so lightweight. You talked about year 11s earlier. He looked like a year 7, fresh behind, wet behind the ears, just not ready for what was to come. And he's getting bushed left, right, and centre at secondary school.
Yeah.
So he's been absolutely struggling.
Yeah.
But yeah, fair dues to him. He got a hand to it, but God knows why. He kind of like hesitated, and Saka managed to somehow score that penalty, which I'm kind of
It
annoyed
was a
about
bit of a
because
stinker,
I
yeah.
haven't put him back in my FPL, so I'm not enjoying all these Saka goals at the moment. But then
Yeah.
the second one was a really great finish. He absolutely slapped it right foot high into the net. It's kind of finishes I wanted to see from Saka on his right foot because he's got it in him, but he normally
does.
shovels it. But this one, he just absolutely laced it and it went flying in. So that was a great goal. But I think you know what, we need to get into some player performances because I think the last 3 games Odegaard has been cooking. Right, we talked about the Cam
No
conversation
shoulder
earlier.
guard who?
Yeah, he's grown shoulders big time. He's got big old broad shoulders because he's been really, really cooking, man. And I think that performance against West Ham, he was unreal. And I think in this one, he wasn't quite as good, but he was still dominated the game. He was running the show. And yeah, goal and assist. If you guys and your star boys and your big players start turning it on from this point on till the end of the season, I've got to be real, man. You've got a really good chance of winning this league. Like a really, really good chance. I still think it will come down to your game at the Etihad because, you're going to be tight with them, I guess, by the time that fixture comes around. and you're probably going to need to win it, which is going to be really hard, right? So I'd still make City favourites because of that, but you really gone from boys to men over the last that tricky tricky patch during Christmas and New Year's. Really, I thought it was going to be your downfall, but you've bounced back really well from it. So I think Odegaard has been one of those key players that has done that, and Saka was great as well. But I'm going to let you do this next player because and talk about him a little bit because I think he's been amazing. But Gabriel, man, you have to talk to me about Gabriel because I don't know, man. Gabriel over Saliba, maybe. I don't know. What are you saying?
You lot are just chat so much breeze. My God, can't believe we're just prisoners of the
I
moment
agree.
out here. We're just prisoners of the moment.
Come on.
POMs. Everyone's now we're in for the league, but before we were so stinky that we're gonna be reserved to like third or fourth place. Oh, we're so terrible, we're having such a down season, and now apparently we get 2 wins in a row convincingly, and everyone's chatting breeze. Anyway,
I didn't say that.
Nah, but we've got to stop this, right? Like, just because we win like convincingly against West Ham and Burnley doesn't mean that we're now on for the title again or whatever else, man. These are the performances that I've been expecting to see. We haven't done it up until really like recently. It's still very much too late. We probably needed to start doing this a lot earlier and continue it for a lot longer to really be in the conversation with winning this, right? Like, it's still a really difficult run of games. We're still behind everyone, right? Like, City got a game in hand. If they win it, they'll be a point ahead of us. Liverpool are still a couple of points ahead of us. We're talking about two unbelievable teams, right? It's not just about Arsenal, and I think Liverpool just keep on winning. Yes, City have like a fumble here and there, but we're nuts to think they're not going to turn it on at the back end of the season. And if we're relying on Haaland to keep being absolutely turd like he was in the game against Chelsea, that's not something to rely on because my brother doesn't do that for long. So I'm not calling this, that, and the other about Arsenal now need to win the league if we play like this and whatever else. I know that you're being complimentary in that, but we need to settle down with putting labels like that on us because as soon as that happens, it gets back to bloody green bottle season out here. We're just beer bottle season and we start slipping up as soon as the pressure's on. So let's everyone relax. We're still sitting in third. We're still probably third favourites to win the league this year. So let's just settle yourselves down. And on the topic of Gabriel, he's a baller, man. Like I've said it from the beginning. He has the bozo gene in him. It's clear. He's done it on multiple occasions. But I saw this interview come out, or like this quote from him come out that like Arteta had to convince him at the beginning of the season when Timber came in to stay because he was like, "I'm not doing this. What are you lot going and buying these players that are basically competing with me? I need to leave." And Arteta managed to convince him to stay and play for this team. And obviously, during Timber went and got like an ACL injury or whatever it was, and now Gabriel's been an absolute fixture in this team. And I think the whole like argument of Gabriel versus Saliba, I think people have never put enough respect on Gabriel's name, and that's not to bring Saliba down. Saliba has been unbelievable, so people have just been like talking about him only. And he also comes with that Rolls Royce tag that Gabriel doesn't really have because Gabriel's a bit more manic, a bit more like, a bit quicker, a bit more of a shit house, etc., etc. So you don't really get that Rolls Royce tag if you play like that. But the difference between them has never been that big. Right, Gabriel, of course, in his bozo moments, looks like he belongs on like a League One team. But at the same time, when he's playing even a 7 out of 10 or even better, he looks like he's like one of the best centre-backs in the league. And I'm not saying that as if like, oh, he's world-class or anything. I'm not trying to put that label on him. But man, he's a dependable centre-back at this point in time. And he's still relatively young, right? Like, I was always trying to put this tag that he was a lot older and he should be more mature and etc. etc. But he's still a relatively young guy. I think he's 25, 26. I think from that point of view, man, like he can only get better. And we forget sometimes that a centre back's like prime age isn't necessarily when they're 24, right? A lot of the time, it's once they've got all that experience, that positional experience of where they should be in the right moments and how to defend different scenarios that they've come up against before. And I think he's coming into some golden years, man. And the fact that he can score on top of it. I know that defenders are not supposed to be like goal scorers or whatever, but when you see a defender that can come and get you goals at like a set piece and he can like dominate in the air, man, those goals are necessary. Like, because especially when our attack isn't firing, Gabriel has got us out of a lot of shit just by coming in and heading the ball every now and then from a corner and getting us a goal. So I think he's been critical to our team. I think the gap between him and Saliba is not big at all. I think they complement each other really, really well with that like destroyer type defender alongside that kind of silky playing the ball here, there, and everywhere defender. And I think that the two of them together, man, they've got to be up there for, you know, one of the best pairings that we've seen in the last few years, right? Like, I'm not trying to say that they're, you know, Van Dijk, Matip levels and whatever else. I'm not trying to say that they're, you know, Ivanovic, John Terry or Ferdinand, Vidic or any of that stuff. I'm not trying to put them in that category, but man, they've been one of the most dependable centre-back pairings of the last 2 seasons by far. And I'd argue to say, depending on how we finish the season, I'd say both of them should be in Team of the Year. Right? If they keep up this performance and we continue to be one of the best defences in the league, they've got to be up there for getting recognition, not just Saliba by himself, but as a pair, because Gabriel has been unbelievable. And I don't think we could be in the position that we're in now defensively without him there. Right? If you take him out and play Kirill every week there, or if you take him out and play Tomiyasu every week, as much as those players are great, but it's not the same. So from my point of view, Gabriel is Gabriel is a legend in our team. I think he's got to be considered to be one of he's one of the core group now. You know, it's not just, I don't think it's just Saliba, you know, Saka, Odegaard. I think he's got to be in the conversation for being one of the like core group of that team that can't move and that can't change. So if I see Arteta coming in and trying to play Timber over him all the time, I'm going to be questioning him again. So yeah, overall, really good player. Very happy with him. Deserves a lot more plaudits, a lot more, you know, praise. He doesn't really get it from the general kind of mainstream media because, again, he's not one of them silky type defenders that everyone really likes in this day and age.
Mate, that was one of the funniest little monologues I've ever heard on this pod. Only you could be so negative and be so over the top positive in the same 2-minute clip.
How was it? Where was I over the top positive? Which part of that was over the top positive?
A star.
He's a star to us.
He's
a star to us. He's a legend in our team. Like, I'm not saying that he's a legend in the game. I said he's a star in our team. You want to tell me that he's not one of the top 3 performers in our team right now?
No, I started this segment off.
Then why are you chatting breeze? Don't try to catch me out. Just because your fucking stinky defenders look so terrible all the time. Don't try to come bring your shit over here, bro. Your team stinks. You haven't seen a good defender in a long time. I get it. But don't come chat to me, bro. Leave that for a Liverpool defender.
Oh my god, you're so funny. You started
I feel like I'm
so
talking to Piers Morgan right here and chatting out his arse.
How? I've literally been listening to you.
Man's just trying to catch me out to say something ridiculous so he can clip it up afterwards when he's trying to talk about Kobe Mainu being the next Thiago.
I literally didn't have to catch you out. You said those words. It was hilarious. You were so negative about your chances first. Because
again, you're trying to catch people out and say, oh, you know, you've got to be the title. You know, you've got to be title contenders again.
I'm not. I genuinely
think that. After 2 games, man, you settle yourselves down. It's prisoners of the moment. It's the last 5 games only that you've been looking at. You need to look longer than that, man.
Yeah, but it's not only the 5 results. We talked about with the United part. We talked about it. We won 5 games. I'm not saying that about us, right? Like, it's the way you guys.
But you lot are trying to get Ten Hag the bloody manager of the season, manager of the month now as well because he's got 5 results because your team is so terrible. I've seen it all over your bloody Man United Twitter that he's got. he's a shoe-in for the next manager of the month again. Absolute prisoners of the moment, man.
But the manager of the month stuff is ridiculous. He's won one already this season, and that's crazy.
I don't know how that is possible either. Yeah.
It's just because we've had little spurts where we've had run of results that fall in a month, and so we've had, you know, it looks like we've been. I mean, Maguire's won a Player of the Month. All that stuff is just, it's all timing. It's all rubbish. So yeah, whichever United Twitter people or content creators are saying that are being extremely shameless. But no, I do think it's also the performances, man. The Liverpool result was big. These 2 wins, I agree with you. Burnley, nothing to shout about. They play super attacking. It's a really good matchup for you guys, right? West Ham was a bit surprising because they normally do S-House things and play a bit low blockish. So I was expecting them to give you a harder game, but it's all just positives, man. You're in the race. I'm not saying you should win it. I'm not saying it's a guarantee or anything like that. But I'm saying you guys are in the mix. Definitely in the mix, man. You should be positive about this run of games you've been having and the way you're playing. It's really, really good. Like there was genuine talk that you were. Well, it wasn't talk. It was actual reality. I think you were like 1 point ahead of Spurs in fourth or fifth or something like that, like 5 or 6 weeks ago, or less than that. So you've really turned it around, man. I wasn't trying to catch you out. I'm genuine. Like I actually think you guys got a really good shout. I mean, the Gabriel stuff, I'm just, it was just funny because he obviously slipped off the words and then was trying to cover it up straight away. But he is. I think he's really close, maybe slightly better than Saliba at the moment. But I think Saliba's definitely got a high ceiling.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think he's a better player right now, but I don't think in the end he will be remembered as the better player. I think Saliba will overtake him as he gets older, as he starts to like iron out certain things in his game, and he gets a little bit more experienced and consistent. I think he'll end up being a better defender than Gabriel. But I think it's undeniable that right now, Gabriel is a better defender than Saliba, and he's the one that has been like I can't remember bozo moments this season from him. I know he scored an own goal against Liverpool, but that wasn't
his fault. That was
that wasn't his fault at all.
Own goal I've ever seen as well.
He got screwed over.
Yeah,
got completely screwed
David
over by
Raya.
Raya and Saliba, both kind of playing a role in f***ing it up. So I think he's been flawless this season, and I agree with you. I think it will be hard for them both to be in Team of the Year at the end of the season unless you win.
If we don't win the league, he's not.
But, yeah.
I don't know if either of them are going to get in Team of the Year.
Even if he doesn't win the league, I would say if Liverpool win it, for example, then probably Van Dijk needs to go in there, and he's been really good.
Yeah,
but I'd be happy with Van Dijk and Gabriel in the centre back pairing. I think this season Gabriel has been better than Saliba. I'm not saying Saliba again. It's not one is bad and one is good. I think they've both been very good, but I think Gabriel. I just think you're right. He's in, I won't say like the golden age or whatever, but I think he's in his prime.
He's getting close to his
beginning.
prime. Yeah.
He's the beginning part of his prime, and he's going to have a few more years. Touch wood, doesn't get injured or something like that for you guys' sake, and he manages to keep it going. But I think, I wanted to talk about him because I think he's, he always is under the radar, and because I think people have got a bit of PTSD based on some of his bozo moments before. And they've condemned him to always be that player, like he's going to be like Titus Bramble or something like that. He's not. He's a very, very good defender.
It's the David Luiz rebound, man. It's the Brazilian centre back David Luiz rebound where everyone's just like, oh God, please God, don't let him be like that. Yeah. So I think that kind of partly works against him, really.
He's not like that though. I think.
No, I know he's definitely not like that, but it's the stereotype, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's worked through it though. I think the mistakes he's made were based on just him, like as a defender, growing pains, going through, needing to get experience playing in a top league. And like you said, 23, 24 is young for a defender. Let's not act like Rio was perfect throughout his career. He was dropping clangers early part of his career as well and made mistakes, and all the great defenders have. So I think he's doing really well, man. I'm not going to do the whole world-class thing because it's been dominating the bloody timeline with the whole Saka and Foden and all that bloody stupid, boring conversation all the time about that. But I think he's...
you can blame Rio for that, by the way. He's the one that started that off again. Bloody Jar Jar Binks out here.
Well, it was going on in the timeline, but he did it on the highest stage, right? Because he kind of... He kind of what's the word? He didn't... He was just unprovoked completely, and he just decided he was going to say it on TNT, which I think he was trying to get the ratings up, and he'd been talking about it on his channel, right, on 5.
On 5, yeah.
So I think he was just trying to extend it into, kind of the mainstream media, which he did a great job of because everyone was talking about it afterwards. But I don't agree with him. Just my 2 cents. I don't agree with him. I think if anyone is close to world class, it's Saka. But I think both of them, you can't say what he said. It makes no logical sense, right? Like,
because if you put Saka in Foden's position, like riding bench for a bloody treble, then Saka would have all of those medals as well. Don't put against him the fact that he plays for a worse team, especially when the team that Foden plays for is arguably one of the best teams ever. So I don't think we can use like trophies against either of these people's names because I'm sorry, but Gundogan won all those trophies last year. If it was Gundogan we were talking about, then fair enough, right? Foden was not carrying that team to anything last year. So I don't want to hear this about, oh, he hasn't won enough titles, this, that, and the other. Because Foden has never been, top 2, top 3 reasons why that team wins. As much as he's good, and I'm not trying to put him down because I think he's really good and I've got him in my FPL team and I think he's a really good player. But we can't be talking about trophies when we're talking about two teams that are very different in terms of trophies over the last 5 years. If this was a Liverpool player against a Man City player, then go ahead and have that argument if you want to have that argument. But don't bring that against Saka because he plays for, unfortunately, I'm an Arsenal fan, but I can admit this, a team that has absolutely stank for the last 5-10 years in terms of winning trophies. So, not even 5-10 years, or 15-20 years. So, yeah, I think it's a stupid conversation to have. And I think Saka is, of the two of them, he's closer to being world-class because Saka's the one that's carrying his team. I don't think Foden necessarily has done that for a full season yet.
Yeah, he's in the midst of kind of doing it now this season because Haaland's been injured and De Bruyne has been injured. He has been kind of like their pivotal player during that period. But it's just a flawed argument because at the same time, if you ask Rio, and I don't want to make it about Rio, love his content and everything like that, but if you ask them about Bellingham, they would say Bellingham is world class, and the same argument can be put against him. He played for Dortmund and bottled it, and he's only just started doing it for Real Madrid, but that team hasn't achieved anything with him in it. So it's
Exactly.
just, I think he's just trying to be cheeky and give a little dig to Saka or whatever, and he knows that he can rile up the Arsenal fans, and Joel Bayer's shameless, so he just wants to get him back a little bit. But I don't think personally either of them are necessarily world class, but I think if there's going to be a closer one, it's Saka, and I think you've just got to have a consistent way to try and judge a player based on whether or not you think they're world class, and not do it based on like little biases and little I don't like that team or I'm going to banter that team, because Saka is a baller. You showed me that you kind of did it cheekily, and I don't agree with it completely, but you showed me the whole Ronaldo stat comparison between the two, and those are impressive numbers, man. Impressive numbers. We need to put some respect on Saka's name. As annoying as you Arsenal fans are, we need to do it and just be unbiased about it. He's an extremely good player, and he's well on his way to being world class. And certainly Foden isn't some player that's miles ahead of him or even ahead of him at all, in my opinion. But yeah, let's chat on the last Arsenal topic before we get into the previews. Mbappe, yay or nay? Is he coming to the library? Yes or no?
I'm gonna play my Canate role right here and ask you: do you think he's coming in?
Well, according to Arsenal content creators, there's no point going to Real Madrid. They've won the Champions League a million times. He could come to Arsenal and create a legacy. He could come and follow in the footsteps of the great Titi or the great Mr. Valavoom himself. Why not?
This stinks of a Liverpool fans argument to me. And I don't want to put us in that category. So anybody that's an Arsenal fan or content creator that's talking about this, shut the fuck up. All right, he's not coming to us, and I'm not trying to pay him £1 million a week. All right. And what do you think is going to happen when Mbappe walks into the team and he's got Saka there and Odegaard here and Havertz there? You think he's going to come in and be like, "Oh, I know that you guys are legends of the team. I'm just going to I'm or not legends of the team, but like you guys are the ones that run the dressing room." He's not going to come in and say that and say, "You know what? I'll blend in. I'll work my way into it." He's going to come in with his stupid Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle looking face and say, "I'm the boss here now." And it's not going to work. It's not going to work under Arteta. It's not going to work with the rest of our team. And as much as I would love to have a player of that quality in the team, just think about it logistically, how that is going to work in our team. Do we have enough money to pay for him? Would we want to put ourselves into the FFP madness that would exist once you're paying him, 20 million a month? No. Right? So realistic? No. Logical? No. A good topic to talk about to get viewers? Yes. Apparently it is. So let's let all of that go. Right? As Canate said, we all know where he's going. We haven't got to talk about him. He's going to Real Madrid. All right. They're going to be an unstoppable force. No one's going to win the Champions League for the next 20 years. Let's just leave it at that. All right. No need to talk about Mbappe coming here. I don't need that PSG drama that he's doing over there coming over here. We've already got enough people chatting absolute breeze about us. I don't need another reason for everyone to talk breeze when he comes in and does 007 for the first 7 games because Arsenal apparently ruined players, right? So we ain't got to do all that, right? Leave that to the Mudriks and the Havertzes. We don't need to do that to apparently the best player in the world.
It's been so funny watching and looking at the discourse about Mbappe to Arsenal or Liverpool or the Prem in general and all the. I really hope all of its banter is just like clickbaiting, trying to reel people in to try and watch their content because it's just not happening. I actually rate Konate for that post match interview that he gave.
It was
just
class.
keep it a buck with everyone and just say it's not happening, man. Don't even chat breeze to me about it. We're not getting Mbappe. We know where he's going. But, we let's just nip it in the bud, right? We don't need to see "Hey Killian" trending on Twitter when the Liverpool idiots go mad on that and say it's he's coming to Anfield and he's never going to walk alone and all that rubbish. He's not coming to England. I doubt he'll ever come to England. If he did, he may go to City in a couple of years' time or something like that if Haaland leaves. Otherwise, the traditional teams, the Uniteds, the Liverpools, the Arsenals, he's not going there, right? He's Galactico settings. Maybe United of about 5 years ago under Ed Woodward, we would have been dumb enough to do something like that. But I think the way we're trending, and Arsenal and Liverpool run way too well. They're managed way too well to let someone come in for 5 million after tax a week and completely destroy their structure. So, man, don't mess with the legends of Arsenal's team. Let's go to the preview section.
And wait, before you try to get away with that, first, shut up. Second of all, we should all be happy if he goes to Real Madrid because then somebody else might be able to nab some of their other great players, right? Like they can't keep Rodrigo, Vinicius, all these dons, man. Let someone else pick up some of these great young players. So let him.
They will, man.
As I said, bloody Donatello looking face out here. Go over there, right?
No, they will, man. They'll be able to keep him.
Let's try and nick someone from their team.
They're
going to be able to keep everyone.
They will, man.
You think long term they're going to be able to keep all them players? You think none of them are going to be like, you know what? I've had enough of this. I'm going to go somewhere else because I think they're going to lose a couple of them players in the next 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's unbelievable that one or two of those players might leave, but realistically, I don't think it's a certainty either because they're going to.
No, I know financially they don't have to, but I think
I just mean like squad building.
Someone's going to get annoyed.
Either. No, I don't think so.
I think a lot of them players want to be the best, though.
Yeah, but those three. I mean, you're right. The only thing that I think you're right on about it mainly is what you talked about what you talked about being like a problem for him joining Arsenal, which is that he might just rock the boat and piss everyone else off and everyone might not want to play with him. But I think they could play a front three of those guys, of Mbappe, Rodrigo and Vinicius, and Bellingham could go more to a traditional midfielder role with Tchouaméni and Camavinga. Because think about Valverde, because they're gonna. Kroos is old. Modric is leaving at the end of the season. They will have space to move people around in that team. And then Endrick's so young that I don't think he's going to come in demanding to play every single week. So I think they can do it. I think the variable is just all the drama and circus that comes with him, with Killy. Like we know he's full of drama, and the Spanish press are pretty intense. Like it's gonna be really just constant waffle in the press if things don't go his way, if he doesn't play in the right position, if if the team's not working solely for him, and that's possible. So I think if that happens, you might see one of the other guys decide they've had enough and they want to go somewhere else. But there's also a good chance it all works. Who knows, man? I'm just selfishly, I'm glad he's not coming, and we're rubbish enough that he's not considering us or whatever. Because as much as he's a great player, I think people overlook some character faults and red flags around Mbappe's personality and how he's been moving over the last 3 or 4 years.
It's the LeBron problem, right? Like you're going to get one of the best players of the time, but you better realize that you've got to put every one of your resources around him and around building him. He's going to be almost to a certain extent like the bloody GM of the team. So
Yeah, but
It's a struggle. If you want to get the best player in the world, then maybe you've got to make that kind of sacrifice. But it's not an easy one to make if you're trying to do like a system, rebuild or like trying to build up a team. I don't think it's the right move, really. I think only the Galactico type of model that Real Madrid have, where no one is bigger than Florentino Perez, could ever work in that way. But everyone else, I think, can't really work like that. Look at PSG, right? PSG is like no one's bigger than, the owners, and yet still Mbappe is running that team like no one's business. So I think it's really difficult for him to come to anyone. Do you think, if he went to Man City, that he'd get on with Pep and like they'd find a way to make that work with everybody else there? Nah, man. I think it's not working.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think where the manager is the star, and Man City, let's get it right. As big as Haaland is, De Bruyne, they're unassuming stars. The real star is Pep. I think the same can be said of Liverpool with Klopp. Salah, Mane were unassuming stars, and Klopp was the big figure and the big star.
Yeah.
I don't think he could work at those teams. Liverpool without Klopp, maybe. Man City without Pep, maybe. United with Woodward, definitely. Arsenal, I don't know about any, as dysfunctional as you've had moments. I don't think, maybe the Raul Sanelli days it could have been possible, but I just don't see it possible. And you're right. It is the LeBronification of sport. Although I would argue LeBron was still kind of less selfish than I think Mbappe has been. Like he wanted control for sure,
of course,
but he gave up certain things to do it because he was chasing, winning. And with Mbappe, I don't think enough time has told for us to know if he's just like an egomaniac or if he's after just winning like LeBron. We'll see. We'll see when he goes to Real Madrid. But yeah, let's move on to the previews then, Johns. So this week, Arsenal got 2 games because you've got return of the Champions League round 16.
Champs.
Something I don't know. Last 16, and then we've got the EPL game. Yeah, nice. Thanks for that one. EPL game week 26 on the weekend as well. Both home fixtures, which will be good because I think we've both been away for the last couple of games. But we'll start off with FC Porto against Arsenal, which I believe is on Wednesday. That fixture scheduling stinks a bit, by the way, because the amount of games Arsenal and United have played on Sundays, but you finally got a game on a Wednesday and they put you on Saturday again. So it's like, again, I just look at the English FA and the Premier League. They don't want our teams to win in Europe. When you see Italy, Spain, all the other countries, they bend over backwards to try and give their teams in Europe the best chance to win and progress. Right? They'll reschedule things all over the shop to give them maximum rest. We don't, man. We always just screw our own teams over and give them, the worst possibility. This isn't even a home game for you guys. So you're traveling to Portugal as well. So you'll probably be home on like Thursday morning. You rest that day. You'll have Friday to do a bit of training and some tactical work, and then you're playing on Saturday. So this is a joke. But anyway, what do you make of the Porto game? Do you think you're going to get a win? What's your prediction for that game?
It's a difficult one because I think Porto have had a really good home run. I think I was reading that they're unbeaten in the last 10 home games. I mean, going all the way to Portugal is not going to be easy. I do know that they've got a couple of injuries, though. I think Sanusi, one of their fullbacks, is out. He's been one of their better players. And then I think their striker, Taremi, also is a doubt for the match as well. So combining that with the unbeaten home run that they've had, and then the fact that Arsenal are coming off of like 5 really good results, I'm probably going to go for like a draw. I think we'll get a we won't get beaten. I think we'll probably draw maybe 1-1, maybe a cheeky 2-1 win to us. But I think we'll get a little draw there and then bring them back to the Emirates and batter them.
Oh man,
the
duality of Johns. I love it, man.
Is that not like a reasonable thing? Like even Man City are like, all right, we'll go there, we'll get a decent result, and then we'll bring them back to the bring them back to the Etihad and slap them, right? So
no, I agree.
I think that in my mind, we just got to survive that. We got to survive that and not lose.
Yeah, it's a tough ground to go to. To be fair, I'm just joking with you. You know, even though I think
Stop
they're in
bloody
third,
joking.
they're in like third right now though, so they're like quite a
Yeah,
way
they're not
behind
doing well.
Benfica and Sporting. Who, yeah, Sporting were kind of in this position last season when they knocked you out. So I guess it's possible, but I think you're going to go there and win. And I think I'm going to go for 2-1 Arsenal. I think it won't be easy. I think you'll have some hairy moments. But yeah, on this form, I can't see Porto being able to stop you. I think they'll in Europe. You guys have looked better as well generally this season. Teams haven't really gone low block and S house their way against you, so I don't expect
Mm.
that from Porto either. So I think you're going to get joy. So I'm going to go for 3-1 Arsenal. I think you're going to wrap it up in
Mm.
this first leg, and yeah, I think it will be a strong performance away in Porto. So yeah, 3-1 Arsenal for me. Let's go on to United Fulham then, because I think we're playing at 3 p.m. on Saturday. I think you guys are the late kickoff. I think on Saturday. So we'll go to United versus Fulham at home first. I'll start off the prediction on this one. Fulham are such an interesting team, man. They
They're a
they
mixed
gave a
bag.
really they had a really good game against Villa. Should have got a draw, like I said earlier. They've got a really good record at home against most teams, but they're kind of a bit hit and miss away. They actually played pretty well against us at Old Trafford in both games last season. We went to the one in the FA Cup where we,
That was madness.
Mitrovic lost his head. Willian handballed one on the line, and then we swung it around
Marco
and
Silva
won
lost
three
his head
three
as well.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and we won 3-1 in the end. Um, but they dominated us in that game, and it was kind of didn't it wasn't unfair because they kind of were the masters of their own downfall, but it felt a bit harsh on them considering how well they played. So I don't expect anything too dissimilar in this game. To be honest, I think they'll probably play some nice football. They'll be dangerous. That Muniz guy um, up front who's kind of come out of nowhere didn't
Mm.
even know Rodrigo Muniz. He was even playing for them. I thought he was maybe an academy player or off the under
Sounds like
21s,
the
but I
brother
think he's like
from was that football movie about Newcastle called Goal or whatever it is.
oh yeah. That guy, the Spanish Don.
Yeah,
But no, yeah, he's been scoring a few goals. So I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet, but I'm gonna go for 2-1 Man United. I think we'll have moments again where we look pretty decent. I wouldn't be shocked if Hoyland scored again. Good old Millsy scores again for the seventh game in a row. And I think we'll just about get the win, but it will be tight. So I'm going to go 2-1 Man United. What do you reckon, Johns?
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go for a 2-0 Fulham.
Oh, who's trying to do content now, you bastard?
I'm just.
All
I'm
right,
the only.
cool.
I'll explain that I'm doing that because of how they played against us
Mm,
when they were piling it on, being really
at
physical and
Emirates.
absolutely battering us. Yes,
No,
I'm
that
gonna.
was
I'm
at
gonna.
Fulham.
No. I don't care where it was, but we played against them recently, and they were just running amok all over us. Calvin, Bassi just slapping people down, all kinds of crazy physicality. I can see them absolutely running amok at Old Trafford. And
Yeah.
selfishly, I want them to do well based off of me predicting that they were going to go down.
Yeah, we'll focus on that near the end of the season. We'll have a look back at all of our stinkers, which there've been plenty of. But let's go on
Yeah.
to the Arsenal Newcastle game then.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's actually it's not even the late fixture; it's a super late fixture. It's at 8 p.m. on a Saturday. Bloody hell! I didn't even
Yeah.
know they did 8 p.m. Saturday games, but all right. That must mean there's no early kickoff on the Saturday because they normally shift the 12:30 to the 8 p.m. for a late game if it's about. So that means you're going to be on
Mm.
TNT Sport. So Jar Jar Binks, as you called him, Rio will be on your game, giving you some grief, I'm sure. So Arsenal Newcastle. Didn't they draw last season at the Emirates? And they played some real rugby settings football. and just somehow managed to S-house the draw.
Yeah, it was a 0-0.
What do you think? Do you think the game's going to go a similar way, or Newcastle have looked like they've been a little bit leakier this season than last season? So, what do you think the result will be?
I'm going to go for a 3-1 Arsenal. And I think they'll try it, but they've still got loads of injuries. I don't think they're quite as good as they were last season. I don't even think they're quite as good as they were against us this season, earlier in the year when they kind of shit-housed to win against us. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 Arsenal win. I think they've got so many injuries, man. Like, and I'm not trying to, play a little violin for them or anything, but I mean, up front,
You are a bit.
yeah, but I mean, up front, like Isak, Wilson, both injured. I'm happy to see. Looks like Joe Linton's also injured too, because he's the main culprit for shithousery when they play against us.
I don't know. Bruno G hates you guys as well.
He does, but without massive Joe Linton next to him, see if it happens again, mate. Rice and Havertz are going to absolutely do you in, you little prick. So yeah, I think we'll go for a 3-1 Arsenal win. I don't think they're going to be quite as good, or the game is going to be quite as competitive as it has been the last few fixtures.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Arsenal are going to win. I think it's going to be 2-1, though. I think it won't be quite as convincing as you're making out scoreline wise. I think you'll deservedly win. But yeah, Newcastle's biggest problem is scoring. I mean, they scored 2, I know. They drew 2-2, was it, with Bournemouth? But Dubravka, he had a stinker in that game. But big up Dom Solanke, FPL, what a legend.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they've got problems scoring with all their attacking firepower kind of out. They're relying a lot on Anthony Gordon. They're relying a lot on Bruno G's goals from midfield. They're relying a lot on
Fabian Schär and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Somehow just getting goals here and there. Like, yeah, they're relying on people that you wouldn't expect to score.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. It's like earlier on in the season, your attackers weren't scoring enough goals. It becomes sticky at some points, right? I actually think the bad bout of results you guys had was kind of best part to do with your attackers not being fluid enough, not putting away chances. But at least they were available. Like Newcastle, I just don't think they've got them available now to do anything, right? Like you can't lose Isak and Wilson as much as. Did you see the way Wilson injured himself? Absolute idiot. He was trying to fight. He was fighting a defender, and started like scuffling with the defender, and like kind of I think he like dislocated his shoulder or his elbow or something, trying to like wrestle with one of the defenders, and it was all him. The defender wasn't even engaged, and he went and started it, and yeah, the defender finished it. So yeah, he's a plonker.
Sounds like someone I know. I think his name is the Butcher.
No, what did he do?
I knew I'd get you with that one.
Man got fallen on.
Who's fishing now, baby?
Kufau fell on him, stupid. But yeah, no, that had nothing to do with the Butcher, mate. He's unlucky. Didn't it? He's an innocent butcher. He is. He's an innocent butcher.
Mate,
but no,
he's just a Newcastle fan in disguise.
How? I hate Wilson. He's a useless twat. I like Isak though, but yeah, Isak's the real big miss actually of the two, because I think Wilson, he's just a podcaster these days, right? Like a Mikel Antonio. Isak is the real gunman. He's the one who would give me sleepless nights if I was an Arsenal defender if he was playing. But yeah, he's not. Yeah. So I think you guys should win. They'll probably score like a jammy goal or maybe a set piece or a deflection or something, or Fabian Schär will maraud up front and somehow score a goal. But I think you'll get the win and you'll keep marching on, man. And I think, am I right? Liverpool play on Wednesday because they've got the Carabao Cup final on the weekend. Oh, yeah. So I was thinking originally you might be able to like temporarily go above Liverpool, but I expect them to beat Luton in the week. It's at Anfield, so if they do, you desperately need that win just to stay close to them and be in the mix. But I think you'll get it. So I would go 2-1 Arsenal, and you keep marching on towards the title, man. But anyway, let's wrap up the pod here. An hour and a half. It's been good, man. We haven't talked for a little bit, so we've had a lot to catch up on. hopefully this winning run and the titles that keep being Arsenal and United win big, another win for both teams. This week it will be, another variation on that. Let's hope that carries on next week and we can talk about more wins for our teams. It'd be nice if you guys
the only title that United get into this season, isn't it?
Well, it might be nice. I was just about to say it might be nice if you guys, got taken down a peg or two. Come on, Porto. Come on, Newcastle. Get in there. Slap them back down to earth. I've been praising them too much.
Mate, slap you back down to earth, mate. You need to slap yourself back down to earth, you silly.
Mate, I'm literally this close to the earth this season. How dare you? I've been struggling the whole season, mate. I've been just praising you guys all season. Mate, praising other teams all season.
Yeah, no, you're floating into the sky in one of them West Ham fairy liquid bubbles right now when it comes to other teams, mate. You're talking about Arsenal. Oh, so great. Yeah.
You'd think you'd be bloody grateful for my praise.
You're like one of them parents that's living vicariously through their children. You know what I mean?
Project Arsenal.
Exactly. Settle yourself down.
No, but yeah, let's hope we still get positive results. But yeah, there's a little bit of me that hopes you guys, take a couple of take an L here or there just to make it interesting. But anyway, thanks. Cheers. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining, John. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.
All right. Cheers, everyone.